The transport ship docked at Nexus Prime with a soft hiss that echoed through the metal corridors. Jake Morrison stepped off first, his boots making sharp sounds on the station floor. Behind him came Maya Rodriguez, Alex Chun, Sam Williams, and Lisa Thompson. All 5 humans looked around with wide eyes at the massive space station that served as the key, Galactic Military Academy. The station was huge beyond anything they had seen before. Crystal walls stretched up so high that Jake had to crane his neck to see the top. Strange lights floated in the air, without any wires or supports. Aliens of all kinds walked past them, some with scales, others with multiple arms, and a few that looked like walking crystals. "This place is incredible," Lisa whispered as a group of insect-like beings walked by on 6 legs each. "Stay together," Jake said quietly. "We are the first humans to ever come here. Everyone is watching us." He was right. As they walked through the main corridor, aliens stopped their conversations to stare. Some pointed at the 5 humans with whatever they used for fingers. Others made sounds that might have been laughter, but sounded more like electronic beeps or animal growls. A tall reptilian creature approached them. Its skin was dark green with yellow stripes, and its eyes were large and golden. When it spoke, its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You must be the human cadets," the creature said. "I am Commander Vic Var. I will be your instructor for tactical studies." Jake stepped forward and gave a small bow, unsure of the proper greeting. "Yes, sir. I am Jake Morrison, squad leader. These are my teammates." Commander Vic Var looked at each human for a long moment. His golden eyes seemed to study them like they were strange insects under a microscope. "Follow me. The other cadets are already assembled for orientation." They walked through more corridors filled with floating lights and strange technology. Maya noticed that the walls seemed to be alive, changing colors as they passed. Alex kept looking at small devices that hung in the air, probably computers of some kind. Sam studied the other aliens they passed, noting how they moved and what weapons they carried. Lisa watched everything with the careful eye of someone trained. To notice details about living beings, the orientation hall was enormous. Hundreds of alien cadets sat in curved rows that went up like a stadium. Jake and his team were led to 5 empty seats in the front row. As they sat down, the talking in the room got quieter, but Jake could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching them. A new alien floated onto the stage at the front of the room. This one looked like it was made of living crystal, with light moving through its transparent body in patterns. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome, cadets, to your final year at the Galactic Military Academy. I am Professor Zelenari, and today you will be introduced to our grand strategic simulation." The lights in the room dimmed, and a huge holographic display appeared above the stage. It showed a spiral galaxy with thousands of star systems marked in different colors. "This simulation has been the final test for military officers for over 2,000 years, Professor Zelenari continued. It recreates a galaxy-wide war with multiple factions, resource management, diplomatic negotiations, and strategic combat across hundreds of systems." Maya leaned forward in her seat. This sounded more complex than anything she had studied back on Earth. "The simulation runs in real-time strategic planning mode," the Crystal Professor explained. "Most cadet teams require 8 to 10 years to complete the scenario. The current record is held by a Zentaurian mathematics team who finished in 7 years and 3 months. Alex raised his hand. "Excuse me, Professor. Did you say years?" A sound like breaking glass came from Professor Zelenari, probably laughter. "Yes, young human. This is not a simple battle simulation. This is grand strategy. Every decision must be carefully considered. Every move must be planned months or years in advance. Rushing leads to defeat. Sam and Jake exchanged glances. 10 years seemed like a very long time for any kind of training exercise. Another alien stepped onto the stage. This one looked like a giant insect, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the light. I am Admiral Korth, speaking for the Hive Mind Collective. I oversee the simulation systems. Let me explain the victory conditions. The holographic galaxy changed, showing different colored regions. Each team will be assigned a starting position, with limited resources and territory. Victory requires either complete military conquest, diplomatic unification of 75% of the galaxy, or economic domination through trade networks. The simulation uses our most advanced artificial intelligence to control enemy factions. Admiral Korth continued. These AI opponents have been programmed with the combined military knowledge of dozens of species. They will adapt to your strategies and exploit your weaknesses. Commander Thekvar stepped forward. This simulation is designed to test everything. You have learned about strategy, diplomacy, resource management, and leadership. It will push you to your limits and beyond. Lisa whispered to Maya, "This sounds impossible." The simulation has been refined for centuries, Professor Zelenari added. Every possible strategy has been tested. Every shortcut has been closed. There is no way to rush through this challenge. The holographic display changed again, showing statistics from previous simulations. Graphs showed how teams typically performed over time, with slow, steady progress measured in months and years. Teams are ranked not just on completion time, but on efficiency, casualty minimization, and diplomatic success, Admiral Korth explained. Reckless strategies that cause unnecessary destruction are penalized heavily. Alex looked at the statistics with growing interest. He had always been good with computers and numbers, and something about these patterns seemed familiar. It reminded him of video games he had played back on Earth, but much more complex. Now, let us assign starting positions, Commander Thekvar announced. Team assignments are random, ensuring fairness. One by one, alien cadet teams were called forward and given their starting positions. Most received balanced territories with decent resources and good defensive positions. The humans watched as teams of crystalline beings, insectoid collectives, and various reptilian species received their assignments. Human team, Commander Thekvar finally called. Jake led his team onto the stage. The holographic display zoomed in on a small cluster of star systems at the edge of the galaxy. The region was colored dark red, indicating high danger levels. The Kepler frontier, Admiral Korth announced. A challenging starting position. Maya studied the display and felt her heart sink. Their assigned territory was tiny compared to what other teams had received. The star systems were poor in resources and surrounded by hostile neighbors on all sides. Worse, the technology level was marked as obsolete, and their starting military forces were minimal. As you can see, Professor Zelenari explained to the room, the human team has drawn a particularly difficult scenario. This starting position has been attempted 17 times in the past century. No team has ever achieved victory from this position. Jake heard alien voices around the room, making sounds that might have been sympathy or amusement. He looked at his teammates and saw his own determination reflected in their faces. "Thank you, Professor," Jake said loudly enough for the room to hear. "We accept the challenge." Commander Thekvar's golden eyes studied Jake for a moment. "Very well. All teams will have 24 hours to study their starting positions and develop initial strategies. The simulation begins tomorrow at dawn, station time." As the other cadets filed out of the orientation hall, many stopped to look at the humans. Some seemed curious, others appeared sympathetic, and a few looked like they thought the humans were already defeated. "They think we cannot win," Sam said quietly as they walked back to their assigned quarters. Maybe that is exactly what we need, Maya replied. Nobody expects much from us. That might be our biggest advantage. Alex was still thinking about the simulation parameters and the statistics he had seen. Something about the whole system seemed too structured, too predictable, like it was built by people who thought war followed rules. Tomorrow we show them what humans can do, Jake said as they reached their quarters. We might be from a death world, but that just means we know how to survive impossible situations. None of them knew it yet, but they were about to change everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The simulation chamber was a massive round room with walls that showed the star-filled darkness of space. Jake and his team sat at a curved control panel that looked more like something from a science fiction movie than real military equipment. Around them, other cadet teams were settling into their own stations, each group studying their starting positions with careful attention. The holographic display above their station showed their assigned territory in detail. The Kepler frontier looked even worse up close than it had during orientation. 3 small star systems with rocky planets, limited resources, and outdated defensive platforms. Enemy territories surrounded them on all sides, marked in different, threatening colors. Simulation begins in 30 seconds, Admiral Korth announced from the center of the chamber. Remember, this is real-time strategic planning. Every decision has consequences. Think carefully before you act. Maya looked at the enemy positions surrounding their territory. Traditional military doctrine would suggest building strong defenses and slowly expanding outward. That was clearly what the alien teams were planning to do. She could see them on nearby stations, creating detailed charts and having long discussions about resource allocation. All teams ready, Admiral Korth called out. Grand strategic simulation ... begin. Immediately, the other cadet teams began their careful planning phases. The insectoid teams started calculating resource production rates. The crystalline beings began drafting diplomatic messages to neutral systems. The reptilian teams focused on defensive positioning and supply line protection. Jake looked at his teammates and saw something different in their eyes. While the other teams were thinking like chess players, planning moves far in advance, the humans were thinking like survivors. Alex, how fast can you analyze their system parameters? Jake asked. Alex was already deep into the simulation's interface, his fingers moving quickly across holographic controls. Give me 5 minutes. This code structure is interesting. It feels like they built it assuming everyone would play by certain rules. What kind of rules? Lisa asked while studying the biological data on nearby alien populations. Careful rules. Slow rules. Rules that assume nobody would do anything too crazy. Alex replied without looking up from his screen. Sam was examining their starting military forces on another display. We have 12 attack ships, 8 defensive platforms, and about 30 support vessels. Most of the equipment is old, but it still works. Maya, what do you see? Jake asked. Maya had been studying the strategic map with the intensity she used to bring to street fights back in Detroit. Everyone expects us to defend and slowly build up our forces. Look at how they positioned themselves. They all left their rear areas lightly defended because they assume we cannot reach them. So what are you thinking? Jake asked. Maya's smile was not friendly. I am thinking we declare war on everyone at the same time. The conversation at nearby alien stations suddenly got quieter. Several teams were glancing over at the humans with concerned expressions. That would be suicide, Professor Zelenari said from behind them. Young humans, you cannot possibly fight multiple enemies simultaneously with such limited resources. Maybe not with alien thinking, Jake replied, but we are not aliens. Alex looked up from his analysis with excitement in his eyes. I found something interesting. The system assumes that certain things are too dangerous to try. like using asteroid fields for hidden bases, or moving fleets through unstable space regions. The AI controllers avoid these areas completely. Back home, we call those opportunities, Sam said with a grin. I grew up dodging tornadoes and flash floods. Dangerous terrain does not scare me. Lisa was studying biological warfare parameters and making notes. Their biological defense systems are calibrated for their own species. Most galactic species have much weaker immune systems than humans. What would be a minor illness for us could be devastating for them. That seems unethical, Commander Thekvar said, having approached their station quietly. War is not ethical, Maya replied. War is about winning. Jake stood up and looked at the strategic display, while other teams were still in their planning phases, discussing options and weighing consequences. He was ready to act. Alex, can you hide fleet movements in those asteroid fields Sam mentioned? Already working on it. The system treats asteroids as navigation hazards, not strategic resources. I can mask our ship signatures by staying close to the larger rocks. Lisa, how quickly can you develop biological countermeasures? Give me 20 minutes and access to our medical databases. I can create targeted biological agents that will force enemy systems to surrender rather than face infection. Sam, what about using environmental hazards as weapons? Sam was studying the stellar cartography data with the eye of someone who had learned to read dangerous weather patterns. That binary star system next to us creates solar flare activity every few hours. If we time our attacks right, we can use the electromagnetic pulses to disable enemy communications. Maya, overall strategy? Maya looked at the map like a general, planning a revolution. Hit them fast, hit them hard, hit them everywhere at once. While they are trying to figure out what we are doing, we take their territory and move on to the next target. The alien instructors were gathering around the human station now, watching with growing concern as the 5 cadets prepared to implement their plan. This is madness, Admiral Korth said. You cannot possibly coordinate attacks on multiple fronts with such limited resources. Watch us, Jake said at exactly 6 minutes into the simulation. While other teams were still discussing their opening moves, the humans launched their first wave of attacks. 12 targets simultaneously across 4 different star systems. The main display screen showed red, alert markers appearing all across the human territory and beyond. Ship movement indicators showed the human fleet splitting into multiple small groups, each heading toward different enemy positions. They are using the Korvac asteroid belt for concealment, an alien cadet from the crystalline team said in amazement. No one uses those asteroids. They are too dangerous. The solar flares from the Sigma Centauri binary are masking their attack patterns, another alien observed. How did they calculate the timing so precisely? Alex was working at speeds that impressed even himself, using the simulation's own environmental hazards to hide their movements and enhance their attacks. Every few minutes he found new ways to exploit assumptions built into the system. First victory confirmed, Maya announced as one of their target systems surrendered after being hit by Lisa's biological warfare tactics. Enemy population chose evacuation over resistance. Second victory confirmed, Sam added, as a defensive platform fell to their coordinated assault. Their shields could not handle our timing with the solar flare activity. Third target requesting terms of surrender, Lisa reported. They do not want to face our biological countermeasures. Commander Thekvar stared at the displays in disbelief. 15 minutes into the simulation, and they already control 7 star systems. This should take months of careful planning and gradual advancement. They are not being careful, Professor Zelenari observed. They are accepting massive casualty rates that other species would find unacceptable. We call them acceptable losses, Maya said without looking away from her tactical display. Every war has costs. The question is, whether you win fast enough to make those costs worthwhile. The other cadet teams had stopped their own planning to watch the humans. What they were seeing defied everything they had learned about proper military strategy. The humans were treating the grand strategic simulation like some kind of speed competition, rather than a careful long-term planning exercise. Ninth system secured, Jake announced. Alex, how are our supply lines holding up? Surprisingly well. By moving fast and keeping the enemy confused, we are capturing supply depots faster than we are using our own resources. Their supplies are becoming our supplies. 10th system surrendering, Sam reported. They evacuated before we even arrived. Word is spreading about our biological weapons. Admiral Korth approached their station with several other instructors following behind. You must slow down and consolidate your positions. This rapid expansion is unsustainable. Says who? Jake asked while coordinating 3 more simultaneous attacks. Says every military manual ever written by every species in the galaxy, Commander Thekvar replied. Maybe that is the problem, Maya said. Maybe every species in the galaxy has been thinking about war wrong. By 30 minutes into the simulation, the humans controlled more territory than some teams achieved in their first year. The strategic display showed their rapidly expanding influence like a red stain spreading across the galactic map. How are they doing this? An alien cadet whispered loud enough for others to hear. They are not following any recognized strategic doctrine, another responded. They are fighting like their homeworld trained them, Lisa said, overhearing the conversation. On Earth, you adapt fast or you die. There is no time for careful planning when a tornado is coming or when predators are hunting you. Alex looked up from his displays with a wild grin. I think I figured out why this is working so well. The AI opponents are programmed with thousands of years of galactic military history. 30 minutes into what was supposed to be a 10-year simulation, and the humans had already shattered every assumption about galactic warfare. The massive display screen showed their territory, stretching across nearly a quarter of the simulated galaxy. Red markers indicated human-controlled systems, spreading like wildfire through regions that should have taken years to conquer. The alien cadets and instructors crowded around the human station, watching in stunned silence as Jake and Ian, his team, continued their impossible advance. Other cadet teams had given up pretending to work on their own strategies. Everyone wanted to see how the humans were rewriting the rules of war. 23rd system secured, Maya announced without looking up from her tactical display. There. Entire defensive fleets surrendered when they saw our biological warfare warnings. Alex was deep in concentration, his fingers moving across holographic controls so fast they seemed to blur. The simulation's AI systems were trying to adapt to the human strategy, but Alex stayed one step ahead by finding new exploits faster than the system could patch them. The AI just tried to cut off our supply lines by attacking our rear positions, Alex said. Too bad we do not have any rear positions. We left everything behind and kept moving forward. Sam was coordinating attacks on 5 different fronts simultaneously while using stellar phenomena as weapons. That neutron star system is perfect for our next assault. The radiation will disable their electronics while our shielded ships move in for the attack. Lisa had perfected her biological warfare tactics to the point where enemy systems surrendered at the first sign of human approach. System 24 is requesting immediate evacuation permits. They heard about what happened to the Altair colonies. Commander. Thekvar looked like he was watching the end of the world. This is not how war is supposed to work. Where is the careful planning? Where is the diplomatic negotiation? Where is the strategic patience? Dead, Jake replied while approving 3 more simultaneous attacks. Those things get you killed when you are facing real danger. Professor Zelenari's crystalline body flickered with agitated light patterns. You are causing massive collateral damage. Entire civilizations are fleeing their homeworlds rather than face your advance. That saves us the trouble of conquering them, Maya said. Empty systems are easier to control than occupied ones. Admiral Korth was making urgent gestures with all four of his insectoid arms. The simulation is behaving in ways we never predicted. The AI opponents are responding to strategies that do not exist in our databases. Maybe your databases need updating, Alex suggested while exploiting another vulnerability in the system's defensive algorithms. Your AI was programmed by species that think war is some kind of gentleman's game with rules and etiquette. The main tactical display showed the human advance continuing at an impossible pace. What had started as a desperate situation in the Kepler frontier was now a galactic conquest that defied every known principle of military science. System 28 falling back without a fight, Sam reported. Word is spreading faster then. We can advance. They are calling us the Ghost Fleet because we appear and disappear using environmental hazards. 29th system requesting terms, Lisa added. They want to know if surrender includes protection from our biological weapons. Jake looked at the growing alarm on alien faces around their station. We accept all surrenders. No point in fighting enemies who want to quit. An alarm started sounding from the simulation's control center. Technical staff rushed around checking displays and making urgent communications. Something was wrong with the system itself. What is happening? Commander Thekvar demanded. A small alien with multiple eye stalks approached the group. Sir, the simulation AI is requesting guidance. It cannot find historical precedents for the human strategy patterns. The system is ... confused. Professor. Selinari moved closer to examine the technical displays. The AI was designed to counter any known military doctrine. But the humans are not using any known doctrine. We are using Deathworld doctrine, Maya explained. Survive at any cost. Adapt faster than your enemies. Strike before they know you are coming. Keep moving until everything is dead or surrendered. Alex looked up from his controls with excitement. The simulation just tried to cheat by spawning new enemy fleets directly in our territory. Unfortunately for them, I had already hacked those spawn protocols and redirected the new ships to join our forces instead. The alien instructors exchanged worried glances. Several of them began making rapid communications on their personal devices, probably reporting to higher authorities about what they were witnessing. 30-second system secured, Sam announced. We are now controlling territory across 6 different galactic sectors simultaneously. The Zentarian team that holds the current record took 7 years to control this much space, Admiral Korth said in a voice filled with disbelief. They were probably trying to minimize casualties and maintain diplomatic relationships, Lisa said while reviewing biological warfare reports. We are trying to win. The pace of conquest was accelerating rather than slowing down. As word of the human advance spread through the simulation, more and more systems chose immediate surrender over resistance. The psychological effect of their rapid, brutal tactics was working in their favor. Admiral, one of the technical staff, called out urgently. The simulation's resource management system is having problems. The humans are consuming and capturing resources faster than the economic models can process. How is that possible? Admiral Korth asked. They are not bothering. With normal economic development, the technician explained. Instead of building infrastructure, they are simply taking existing infrastructure from conquered systems and using it immediately for further expansion. Jake overheard this conversation and smiled. Why build factories when you can capture? Factories? Why train troops when you can capture troops? Why develop resources when you can take resources? That approach should leave you overextended and vulnerable, Commander Thekvar protested. Only if you stop moving, Maya replied. We Stay ahead of our supply problems by solving them with conquest. Alex had found another exploit in the simulation's coding. Interesting. The system assumes that species will want to preserve historical sites and cultural landmarks. It treats them as off-limits for military action. But if you are willing to destroy anything in your path, cultural preservation is important, Professor Zelenari said with alarm in her voice. Not when you are trying to survive, Sam said. Sentiment gets you killed. The strategic display showed human forces approaching the galactic core systems, regions that were supposed to be unreachable until years into the simulation. The AI opponents were frantically trying to organize coordinated resistance, but the humans moved too fast for effective coordination. 40th System requesting immediate evacuation assistance, Lisa reported. They are offering to transfer all their military assets to us in exchange for safe passage to neutral territory. Accepted, Jake said immediately. Their ships, our fleet. This is madness, Admiral Korth declared. You cannot possibly manage this much territory with this few personnel. We are not managing it, Alex explained while launching attacks on 3 new targets. We are conquering it. Management comes later, if at all. The alien observers were starting to look genuinely frightened. What they were witnessing was not just a successful simulation run. It was a complete revision of everything they thought. They knew about warfare and military strategy. System 42 surrendering without resistance, Maya announced. They say fighting us would be pointless and suicidal. Smart choice. Sam agreed while redirecting captured enemy fleets toward new targets. Professor Zelenari approached Jake directly. Young human, you must understand. This simulation was designed to teach proper military leadership. Your methods are disturbing. Jake looked up from his command displays and met the crystalline being's alien gaze. Professor, with respect, your galaxy has been peaceful for too long. You have forgotten what real war looks like. And what does real war look like? She asked. Fast, brutal, final, and definitely not fair. The simulation timer showed 45 minutes elapsed. In less than 1 hour, 5 human cadets had achieved what was supposed to take the galaxy's best military minds nearly a decade to accomplish. And they were not slowing down. 45th System secured, Alex announced. We now control 60% of the simulated galaxy. The room had gone completely silent except for the sounds of the simulation itself. Everyone was staring at the impossible display of human military efficiency. How much longer? Commander, Dekvar asked quietly. Jake looked at the strategic map, calculating distances and resistance levels. Give us another 15 minutes. Maybe less. At 45 minutes into the simulation, the humans controlled 60% of the galaxy. The massive holographic display showed their territory in deep red, stretching across most of the known systems. Only one major stronghold remained, unconquered, and it was the most dangerous target in the entire simulation. The Omega Fortress appeared on the tactical screen, like a nightmare made of metal and energy. This was the final enemy stronghold, a massive defensive complex that had never been breached in 2,000 years of simulation history. Previous cadet teams had typically ended their attempts in negotiated truces, rather than face this ultimate challenge. That is the Omega Fortress, Admiral Korth explained, his insectoid voice filled with respect and fear. It is surrounded by artificial black holes and defended by the most advanced AI networks in the galaxy. No simulation team has ever successfully assaulted it. Jake studied the fortress data while his teammates analyzed different aspects of the challenge. The defensive systems were indeed impressive. 12 artificial black holes created a gravity maze that could tear apart any approaching fleet. Energy shields powered by 3 stars protected the central structures. AI-controlled weapon platforms numbered in the thousands. Most teams spend Years developing siege strategies, Commander Dekvar said. The few who have attempted direct assault have failed completely. The accepted approach is to negotiate a treaty that acknowledges the fortress as an independent neutral zone. Negotiation is for people who have time, Maya said while studying attack vectors. We have been moving for 45 minutes. Why stop now? Alex was deep in analysis of the fortress's defensive programming. This is interesting. The AI systems are even more advanced than what we have been facing, but they are still built on the same basic assumptions. They expect enemies to follow logical, predictable patterns. Lisa was reviewing biological warfare options, but she looked frustrated. The fortress population is completely synthetic. Artificial intelligences and robotic defenders. My biological weapons will not work here. Sam was examining the artificial black holes with the fascination of someone who had grown up watching dangerous weather patterns. These black holes are not natural. They are maintained by gravitational generators. If those generators were overloaded, the black holes would collapse, Alex finished, suddenly understanding where Sam was heading. But the energy release would destroy everything in the area, including several neighboring star systems. Collateral damage, Maya said simply. How? Many civilian populations in those neighboring systems? Professor Zelenari moved closer to their station, her crystalline body flickering with alarmed light patterns. There are 4 inhabited systems within the blast radius. Billions of simulated lives. Simulated, Jake repeated. This is a simulation, Professor. Those are not real people. But the principles matter, she protested. Military officers must learn to value life, even simulated life. The victory conditions require minimizing unnecessary casualties. Alex looked up from his analysis with a grin that made several alien observers step backward. Actually, Professor, I just checked the victory conditions again. They require defeating the enemy forces. There is nothing about minimizing casualties. That was just traditional galactic military preference, not an actual rule. Commander Dekvar moved to review the official simulation parameters. He is correct. The formal victory condition is simply achieve complete. Military dominance over all hostile forces. The casualty minimization guidelines are recommendations, not requirements. The alien instructors began making urgent communications on their devices. Several additional faculty members arrived in the simulation chamber, including some that Jake had never seen before. Word was spreading throughout the academy about what the humans were planning. You cannot seriously be considering this, Admiral Korth said. Destroying the artificial black holes would cause a chain reaction that devastates multiple star systems. It would also destroy the Omega Fortress, Sam pointed out. That achieves the victory condition. The fortress has withstood every assault. For 2 millennia, Professor Zelenari said desperately. There must be another way. There probably is, Maya agreed. It would probably take about 5 years of careful siege work, diplomatic maneuvering, and gradual erosion of their defenses. We do not have 5 years. We have 15 minutes. Jake looked around at the growing crowd of alien observers. Faculty, members, senior cadets, and even some academy administrators had gathered to watch the final phase of what had become the most shocking simulation run in galactic history. Alex, can you overload the gravitational generators? Jake asked. Give me 10 minutes to hack their control systems, Alex replied, his fingers already moving across the holographic interface. The security is impressive, but they never expected anyone to actually try something this insane. Sam, what do we need for the gravitational overload? Sam was calculating energy requirements and blast patterns. We need to coordinate simultaneous overloads on all 12 generators. If even one black hole remains stable, it will consume the energy from the others and actually strengthen the fortress defenses. Lisa, backup plans? Lisa had been thinking beyond biological warfare. If the black hole plan fails, we could try crashing our entire fleet into the fortress at maximum speed. The kinetic energy might breach their shields. That would be suicide, Commander Thekvar said in horror. Only if we were actually on those ships, Lisa replied. We could program them for automated kamikaze attacks. The alien observers were making sounds of distress. Several were arguing in their native languages, probably debating whether to stop the simulation before the humans could complete their final assault. Maya? Overall coordination? Maya was studying the tactical requirements. With the cold focus she had learned on the streets of Detroit, 12 simultaneous overloads, coordinated to the microsecond. We get one chance. If we miss the timing, the Fortress AI will adapt and prevent any future attempts. I found their control systems, Alex announced. The security is military grade, but it was designed to prevent normal infiltration attempts. They never considered someone might try to hack them while simultaneously assaulting the fortress from 12 different directions. How long do you need? Jake asked. 8 more minutes to establish access to all 12 generators. Then about 30 seconds to overload them once you give the command. Admiral Korth approached their station with several other senior faculty. Members, human cadets, I must officially request that you reconsider this approach. The destruction you are planning violates every principle of civilized warfare. Admiral, Jake said respectfully, we are not a civilized species. We are a Deathworld species. When our survival is threatened, we do whatever is necessary to eliminate the threat. But this is not about survival, Professor Zelenari protested. This is a training simulation. All training is about survival, Maya replied. If we do not learn to win impossible fights, then we die when the real impossible fights come. A new alarm started sounding from the simulation control center. Technical staff were frantically checking their systems and making urgent reports to the supervising faculty. What is the problem now? Commander Thekvar demanded. Sir, a nervous technician reported, the simulation AI is requesting permission to activate emergency protocols. It wants to spawn additional defensive systems around the Omega Fortress. On what grounds? Admiral Korth asked. It claims the human strategy exceeds all known parameters for acceptable military behavior. The AI is asking for authorization to break simulation rules in order to counter what it classifies as an existential threat to galactic stability. Alex looked up from his hacking attempts. The AI is scared of us. It knows we are about to do something that breaks its understanding of how war is supposed to work. Request denied, Jake said firmly. The simulation began with specific parameters. Changing those parameters now would be actual cheating. Admiral Korth considered this for a long moment, then made a gesture that might have been agreement. The human is correct. The simulation parameters will remain unchanged. 6 minutes remaining, Alex announced. I have access to 8 of the 12 gravitational generators. Working on the final 4, the Fortress AI seemed to sense the approaching threat. Energy readings from the Omega Fortress increased dramatically as defensive systems powered up to maximum levels. Weapon platforms began firing at empty space, trying to predict where the human attack would come from. They know something is coming, Sam observed, but they do not know what. 5 minutes, Alex said. 10 generators accessible. 2 more to go. Jake looked around at the crowd of alien observers. Faculty members were making frantic communications with higher authorities. Some of the alien cadets looked excited, others appeared terrified, and a few seemed to be taking detailed notes about human military psychology. 4 minutes. All generators accessible. Beginning overload preparations. Maya, confirm attack timing? 30 seconds for the overload sequence, plus 2 minutes for the gravitational collapse chain reaction. Total time to fortress destruction: 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Professor Zelenary, any final objections? Jake asked, the crystalline being flickered with conflicted light patterns. I have many objections, young human. The simulation chamber was completely silent, except for the humming of computers and the rapid clicking of Alex's fingers on the holographic controls. Every alien in the room watched the human station with a mixture of fascination and horror. In the next few minutes, 5 cadets from a death world were about to attempt something that had never been tried in 2,000 years of galactic military history. All 12 gravitational generators are accessible, Alex announced, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool air in the chamber. Beginning final sequence preparation. The main tactical display showed the Omega Fortress in perfect detail. 12 artificial black holes orbited the massive structure like deadly guardians, their gravity wells creating an impassable maze for any attacking force. Thousands of weapon platforms dotted the fortress surface, powered by 3 captured stars, and protected by energy shields that had never been breached. 60 seconds to overload initiation, Alex said. Everyone ready? Jake looked at his teammates one final time. Maya was coordinating the attack timing with military precision. Sam was monitoring stellar phenomena that might interfere with their calculations. Lisa was tracking the Fortress AI's defensive responses. All 4 of them looked completely calm, as if destroying an impossible fortress was just another day at the office. Execute, Jake commanded. Alex's fingers moved across the controls like lightning. 12 separate hack attempts launched simultaneously, each one targeting a different gravitational generator. The Fortress AI detected the intrusion attempts immediately and began counterattacking, but Alex had anticipated this response. AI countermeasures engaged, Alex reported, switching to backup infiltration protocols. The alien observers pressed closer to the human station. Professor Zelenary's crystalline body flickered with nervous light patterns. Commander Thikvar's golden eyes were fixed on the tactical display. Admiral Korth was making rapid calculations with all 4 of his insectoid arms. 30 seconds to overload, Alex announced. First generator compromised. Second generator compromised. Third generator. Having trouble with this one. Problems? Jake asked. The AI is learning from our previous attacks. It is adapting faster than I expected. Alex's voice remained calm, but his fingers were moving even faster across the controls. Switching to pattern 7. 15 seconds, Maya called out. If we miss the timing window, we will not get another chance. I know, Alex replied. 4th generator compromised. 5th generator compromised. 6th ... there we go. 7th and 8th generators compromised simultaneously. The Fortress AI seemed to realize what was happening. Weapon platforms began firing in all directions, trying to locate the source of the infiltration. Energy readings from the fortress spiked as emergency systems activated. 10 seconds, Sam announced. 9, 8, 7. 9th generator compromised, Alex said. 10th generator compromised. 11th generator, come on ... 3, 2, 1. 12th generator compromised. All systems green. Initiating gravitational overload in 3, 2, 1 ... now. The tactical display exploded with light and energy readings. 12 artificial black holes began destabilizing simultaneously as their gravitational generators overloaded beyond safety limits. The Fortress AI sent out emergency broadcasts in dozens of alien languages, probably calling for help that would never arrive in time. Overload successful, Alex announced with a grin. Gravitational collapse chain reaction beginning. The main display showed what was happening in terrifying detail. As each artificial black hole collapsed, it released massive amounts of energy that cascaded into the neighboring black holes. The effect spread like dominoes falling, creating a growing wave of destruction that consumed everything in its path. Fortress shields failing, Maya reported. Energy grid completely overloaded. Weapon platforms going offline. Gravity waves. Reaching critical levels, Sam added. The fortress structure is beginning to break apart. The Omega Fortress, which had stood unconquered for 2 millennia, was tearing itself apart under gravitational forces that no architect had ever imagined. Metal structures that had been built to last forever were stretching and snapping like rubber bands. The 3 captive stars that powered the fortress were pulled into the collapsing gravity wells, adding their nuclear fire to the destruction. Neighboring. Star systems evacuating, Lisa reported. The blast wave will reach them in approximately 90 seconds. Several alien observers made sounds of distress at this announcement. The humans had not just destroyed the fortress. They had created a disaster that would affect multiple star systems. The scale of destruction was beyond anything seen in previous simulations. Fortress AI sending final transmission, Alex said. It is ... surrendering, requesting immediate evacuation assistance for its core consciousness. Too late, Jake replied. Should have surrendered an hour ago. The gravitational collapse reached its final phase. The last artificial black hole consumed the fortress core, the captive stars, and everything else within a light-year radius. When the energy finally dissipated, nothing remained but empty space where the greatest military fortress in galactic history had once stood. Simulation victory confirmed, the main computer announced in a voice that somehow sounded surprised. Complete military dominance achieved. Total elapsed time, 58 minutes and 23 seconds. The chamber was completely silent for a long moment. Then Admiral Korth began making a sound that might have been laughter or might have been crying. Commander Thikvar was staring at the tactical display as if he could not believe what he was seeing. Professor Zelenary was flickering through light patterns so rapidly that she looked like a broken lamp. New galactic record established, the computer continued. Previous record, 7 years, 3 months, 14 days. New record, 58 minutes, 23 seconds. Record improvement factor, approximately 65,000%. Jake stood up from his command station and looked around at the crowd of alien faces. Some looked amazed, others appeared horrified, and a few seemed to be having some kind of nervous breakdown. Simulation completed, Jake announced. What happens now? It took several minutes before any of the faculty members could respond. Finally, Admiral Korth approached the human station with slow, careful movements. What happens now, the Admiral said in a voice filled with wonder and fear, is that we completely redesign every military simulation in the Academy, and probably every military doctrine in the galaxy. Professor Zelenary managed to stabilize her light patterns enough to speak. In 58 minutes, you accomplished something that our greatest military minds believed would take a decade. You used strategies that violate every principle of civilized warfare. You caused destruction on a scale that most species would consider unacceptable. And yet, Commander Thikvar added quietly, you won, completely and decisively. Maya looked around at the alien faces. Is that a problem? It is terrifying, Admiral Korth replied honestly, but also ... educational. Alex was reviewing the simulation data with professional interest. The AI opponents were incredibly sophisticated, but they were all programmed based on galactic military history. Since galactic military history never included Deathworld species, they had no idea how to counter our strategies. Your strategies were not strategies, Professor Zelenary protested. They were controlled chaos. Controlled chaos is the best kind, Sam replied. Back home, we call it survival. A new group of aliens entered the simulation chamber. These were clearly high-ranking officials with elaborate uniforms and ceremonial decorations. They approached the human station with the careful respect usually reserved for dangerous predators. Academy Director Vashtai, Admiral Korth said formally, "May I present the human cadets who have just redefined warfare." The Academy Director was a tall, elegant being that looked like it was made of living silver. When it spoke, its voice sounded like musical chimes. "Human cadets, you have created quite a stir throughout the galaxy. News of your simulation run has already reached the Federation Council. Is that good or bad?" Lisa asked. "Both," the director replied. "Your victory demonstrates that humanity possesses military capabilities that we never imagined. This has implications for galactic security." Jake sensed something important in the director's tone. "What kind of implications?" "The kind that change everything," the director said. "This simulation was not just a training exercise. It was also a test to determine whether humanity was ready for military responsibility within the Federation." Maya raised an eyebrow. "And our results?" "Your results suggest that humanity may be the most dangerous military force in galactic history," Commander Ekmar said. "The question now is whether that danger will be used to protect the galaxy or threaten it." "We did not come here to threaten anyone," Jake replied. "We came here to learn." "And you have taught us far more than we taught you," Professor Zelenari said. "The Academy Board has voted unanimously to graduate your entire team immediately. You have proven that conventional military education cannot improve upon Deathworlder instincts." Alex looked up from the simulation data he was studying. "So what happens next?" Academy Director Vashtai stepped forward. "Next, you return to Earth as the first humans to graduate from the Galactic Military Academy. You will also return with new responsibilities.